today we are going to walk through some of the more common questions that buyers ask when they are looking to purchase a home. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. Go ahead and click the subscribe button and also that bell to receive notifications if you want to know all there is about living, working, playing in and around the St. Louis area. Hi, I'm Ashleigh.
And I'm Dan. We are with St. Louis Living, a part of Narrative Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy a house in the next 9 days or 90 days, we are here to support.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump right in. We are going to talk through some of the more common questions that buyers ask when looking to purchase a home and how we would answer those in our buyers consultations. All right, so let's jump right in. First question that we get asked pretty much without fail, and usually one of the first questions we get asked: how much money do I need up front, Dan?
It's a great question, Ashleigh. So a lot of it's going to depend on first what type of loan you're getting. So if you're getting a conventional or FHA, you're going to be at like usually 3 to 3.5%. If you have a VA, then there is 100% financing out there. But really want you to discuss that a lot with your loan officer, between what your credit scores are and other factors that go into that will determine how much money you need to put down from that. And then the things that you're going to need prior to closing. So once we go under contract on the house, you're going to need your money to cover inspections and typically your appraisals. So inspections are typically going to run you somewhere between $400 and $1,100. There's a variety of inspections. I won't dive into all of those now, but there's about 10 to 15 different types of inspections that you can get done on a house. Your appraisal, sometimes that's paid for at closing. A lot of loan officers are going to ask you to pay for that at the time they order your appraisal. That's usually around $295, sometimes as much as $400. From there, it's really your closing costs, and there is quite a bit that goes into the closing costs. We usually tell people to plan on 2 to 2.5% of your purchase price is going to be that closing cost. That includes your title fees, your commissions that are being paid out to your loan officer. Sometimes it's a flat fee. Any prepaid, so that's your taxes, that's your insurance. They pay for those usually for 12 months, so that gets put into the loan. And then there'll also be, depending on time of the year that you close, there's going to be a credit for those taxes that are being paid from the sell side, and there's a credit and debit that balance each other out. And that's pretty much most of your costs. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you pretty much covered them. Thank you.
Yeah. So Ashleigh, how long has this house been on the market for?
Yes. So that's something that is pretty simple for us to answer. We log on to our, you've probably heard us mention our MLS, the listing service here in Missouri. And that's going to tell us, we can see exactly, what date the house was entered. So how long it's been on the market. We can also see the history. So we can see any price changes, if it was withdrawn for any amount of time, everything that has happened with that house. And I feel like usually buyers are asking that. I don't know your experiences. They're kind of trying to feel out the seller's position and where we're at bargaining wise, what type of offer we should submit, and kind of gauge that. Usually when I feel I'm getting that question.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. And sometimes they're curious also how long, like how many times has the house been on the market? Is it selling every 2 years? And if so, is there a reason for that? So it is good for us to look at that history, and it also, like you're saying, it does help us with price and offer. So
yes. Question number 3, Dan, what do you think? Is this house priced well? Is it too high? What's going on?
That's a great question, and I'd say almost every time get asked that. I know in our firm here with Narrative, we always are going to run what's called a CMA. That's a competitive market analysis. So we want to make sure that you're getting the best price for that house, whether that's overvalue, whether it's undervalue. And it all depends on where the house is at, what it's priced at, how many offers are on the table. There's a lot that goes into it, but we are always going to do an analysis and make sure you understand what you're paying and that you're not paying more than what you're comfortable with. Our next question, Ashleigh, is there an HOA? And what is an HOA?
You've heard people ask, so you figure you should ask, right?
Yes.
Okay, so HOA, Homeowners Association, and what they are, again, kind of varies from subdivision to subdivision. Some of them go as far as, if there's a pool or something like that, community amenities, they maintain most of the community amenities. Another tough one to say. So that may just be, your street, your subdivision, like entrance sign and common ground areas. That may include a pool. So there are different things that they cover. If you're looking at a condominium association, that's kind of a whole different ball game. We'll talk about that on a condo specific sometimes. But for your single family homes, that HOA is that homeowners association. They do some maintenance. They also set the standards and regulations for the subdivision. So are you allowed to have sheds or not? Are you allowed to have pools in your backyard? If so, can they be above ground or in ground only? What are all those subdivision guidelines? A lot of them will want to approve any additions or alterations that you do to your home prior to make sure that your exterior choices meet their guidelines. And then there is usually always a annual fee associated for that association. That could range from $100 or $110-ish for a very simple, where there's just common ground maintenance and that's it. They can be a couple hundred to thousands of dollars, especially if you're looking at somewhere with community pool, golf course, things of that nature.
I think one of the misunderstood things about HOAs is they've gotten a bad reputation over time.
Yeah.
The truth is that HOAs are really set out to help keep the values of that community higher.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, they have regulations on things like what color your house can be painted, but not all do, just some. Some of them have regulations on when your trash cans can be out and things like that.
Yep.
But it really all goes into the idea that they want a well-kept community so that the values of that subdivision continue to rise and not fall.
Yes. And so then that's why it is an important question to ask upfront. When you find a house you are thinking of making an offer on, if you absolutely need a shed in your backyard for your riding lawnmower and that's a non-negotiable for you, we need to see if that's allowed in those subdivision bylaws.
Another thing to know is that most of your newer subdivisions are going to have an HOA.
Yes.
Not all, but most. And we can get what's called indentures, and those indentures will tell us the things they allow and the things they don't allow. And on occasion, we can also ask for a special request depending on what that is. So all in all, they're not a bad thing. It just depends on what you need.
Absolutely. Another question we get quite a bit is, why are they moving? Why are the sellers moving? It's a great house. What's wrong with it?
Yeah, we do. We get that all the time. And I would say maybe 10% of the time we know why they're moving. A lot of times the listing agent isn't going to tell us. So it's just one of those things that we're not probably going to know. And honestly, unless there is something bad that we would have already known about, there's not really a reason that we need to know.
Yeah.
So how long does it take to buy a home, Ashleigh?
Ooh, this is a good question.
It is a good question.
So this time frame varies greatly. And I would say, to answer that up front, the greatest variable is just how long does it take us to find the home or homes that you're wanting to make an offer on. Once we are under contract on a home, you've secured a contract, buyer and seller agree. That process at this time in Missouri, we're typically 30 to 45 days from under contract until your closing date. Where we get into the variables is, how long is it taking us to find the home that's what you want? If you have a much more specific area or a one subdivision that you're looking in, it's probably going to take us longer to find a home that works for you in that subdivision than if we're looking at in an entire city or an entire county. So it just depends on what your needs and wants and the non-negotiables are, what comes to market. But that's kind of the real variable piece there, is just how long until something that matches your criteria comes to market, or we've gone out and secured it for you before it goes to market. And if we need to do that.
Yeah, and I would say, if you asked me this 4 years ago, I would tell you typically it took us anywhere from 30 days to 6 months. But that was a lot to do with the buyer's time frame. Now it has a lot more to do with, like Ashley, you were just saying, what your criteria is. If you have a really broad criteria, it's much easier. If we have a very specific criteria, then it comes down to the market and what the market has available. And right now we've been in a pretty low inventory, so it just makes it a little bit more challenging, which takes a little bit more time. But don't get us wrong, if we need to get someone into a home in 3 months or 30 days, we can do that. It just takes a lot of work on our end and on your end to go find that home and get offers submitted.
Right, right.
Let's see. So our next question. Go
I
ahead.
like this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does a realtor do?
It's a great question. What do we not do? I mean, when it comes to whether you're buying or you're selling, there's a lot of different things that we do. It starts with meeting with you, having a buyer's consultation. So in our office, it's not something that we just suggest. We are going to meet with every one of our clients and do a consultation. And that's for your benefit and for ours. We want to make sure that we're using your time to the best of our abilities, and also that we're not wasting our time. So we'll sit down and kind of run through the whole process of what it looks like to buy a house. Out from there, we're looking for houses. We're looking at our multiple listing database on a regular basis. We are talking to other agents. We're looking at communities. We are trying to find that house. Once we find a house that you're interested in, or you let us know about a house you're interested in, then we're talking to the other agent. We are getting to the house and making sure it's ready for showings. We are having communication about what offers are in place, what's going on, what are the best things that the agents need. Outside of just this process, on a regular basis, we meet with other agents. We go to different events, we go to things, and that's all so that we can be the best resource for our buyers and our sellers at any given point, so we can put you in the best place to win on a deal. And we drive hundreds and thousands of miles every year. What else am I missing?
Unclog toilets.
Yes.
Remove appliances.
Yep.
The list does go, and it is a long list, but I would say, we're joking around, but what do we do for our clients? A lot of it is making sure that you are well educated upfront, so that you, as he said in that buyer's consultation, that you have as much information as you can upfront. And then once you have found a home that you want to offer on, us guiding you through, running those comparables, looking at the price analysis, giving suggestions, and then walking you through, okay, is this you want to win this, giving guidance, but then saying, okay, if you want it and think you want to do this, it's really just kind of helping walk you through what you're comfortable with and telling you what it's going, what we think it's going to take, and writing those things up in the most appealing way possible.
Yeah.
And legally.
Yes. And I always want, one of the things that goes unsaid a lot is all the stuff that we do behind the scenes. There's a lot of paperwork that we're doing. There's a lot, fire truck. There's a lot of communication that goes on that our buyers never really know about, that we are trying to do to put you guys in a position to win on a house, to make sure that we get it, or to make sure that it's actually the house that we want. I think the other part of our position that sometimes is challenging is we are here to consult you, which means that sometimes we are saying, hey, is this really the best house for you? Because of what you've told us, is this really the best way for us to go? And so we'll have those conversations because we want you to be happy at the end of the day. We don't want to get through a transaction and then you be like, oh, I didn't want that house.
If you've told me that, backing to a main road is an absolute no-go for you, and we found this house with a beautiful kitchen that backs to a main road, and it looks like all you're seeing is that beautiful kitchen, we're going to say, hey, you told me no main roads. We want you to be happy at the end of the day, like Dan said. So,
for sure.
So devil's advocate, that's the other part of our job.
Yes.
Devil's advocate.
Yes, it is.
Lastly, this is our last question for the day.
It is.
Do I need to be pre-approved, Dan?
It's a great question.
Have to be.
So first, and we've discussed this before in some other videos, but pre-approved versus pre-qualification are two different things. So real quick, pre-qualification just means that for the most part, they've talked to you, they've asked you what you do for a living, how much you make, what your credit scores are, and then they take that information and they say, hey, Ashleigh, you're pre-approved at X, or pre-qualified at X.
Right.
Pre-approved typically means that they have gone through a little bit of underwriting, that they've run it through their system, they check your credit, and they verify that all that information is correct, and then they give you a pre-approval. And as far as when it goes to showing houses, most of the agents actually in Missouri ask that people be pre-approved before they go see a house. My thing is, I always tell people like, hey, I can go show you 1 to 3 homes before we're fully approved if we need to. But I really would prefer you to be pre-approved. And the biggest reason for that is I'd hate for you to go see a house that you fall in love with and then find out you're not qualified for. That's really, really tough.
Yeah.
So do I need to be pre-approved? We really recommend it. And in our process, we're going to ask you to get pre-approved before we go look at houses.
Yeah. And that's part of what we're going to talk to you about. I think a lot of people, maybe part of that question or misconception is like, oh, I have to be pre-approved to talk to a real estate agent. No, please come on in. We'd love to talk with you, sit down and have our buyer's consultation. And part of what we're going to do is if you're not pre-approved or don't have a lender who you have a great working relationship with, we're going to give you some referrals and make sure that you are in a really good place. So no, you don't need to be pre-approved to talk to us. As Dan said, once we're ready to start looking at houses, I don't want to walk you through your dream home and not be able to write an offer on it. So
yep, we've both been there and done that with people. It's not fun.
No, not for anybody. So, any other questions that you thought of as we've gone through this, or does that wrap us up?
I think that wraps us up. But if you guys have questions, feel free to drop them in our comments. If there's things you want to know about buying a house, we'd love to answer those. And if we need to do another segment because we get enough questions, we would be more than happy to do that.
Everyone have a good one.